here with us on Overdrive. Now, the new Yezdi Adventure has received a few cosmetic upgrades, revised engine, as well as a few tweaks to the cycle to make it a wholesome ADV motorcycle. It has seemed to have worked to an extent. Let's find out how and why.
Now, if you were in the market looking to buy yourself a sub 500cc single cylinder adventure motorcycle, well, a proper off-road motorcycle, well, the Yezdi Adventure wouldn't be on the top of your shopping list, primarily because it did not tick a couple of boxes as far as hardcore off-road adventure motorcycles are concerned. And of course, when Yezdi launched the motorcycle, it did resemble a certain Himalayan 411. It looked like a carbon copy. So the day has changed. The Himalayan has moved on to the 450, and Yezdi have carried out substantial amount of changes, they say, to the internals of this motorcycle and a couple of bits on the externals as well. So is it a complete off-road motorcycle now? You're about to find out. On the design front, Yezdi have executed some subtle but noticeable changes. Well, those big tank rails that were on there before have now shrunken down in size, and therefore helped shave off some kgs of the bike's overall weight. The next thing you'll immediately notice is the level of fit and finish, which has clearly been addressed. The paint finish on the metal parts, the curved plastic bits, and even the quality of welds and even the sticker work, well, it all looks way neater than it ever did before. And that's all well and good from the aesthetic perspective, but the main talking point about this updated bike is its updated motor, which Yezdi is calling the Alpha 2 engine. The engine that powers the Yezdi Adventure, now that is the same 334cc single-cylinder liquid-cooled motor that we have seen previously in the Java 350 Classic. Now obviously the displacement is the same, but then the power and torque, well, that has gone up to suit the configuration of this motorcycle. It produces slightly under 30 PS of max power, under 30 Nm of max torque, and the best part about this is that the previous Adventure model, well, it seemed to be lacking in terms of low-end torque because you really had to ring the throttle, get it to above 2500 RPM for that nice juicy torque to kick in. Not anymore, because with this motor, well, that torque is a lot more accessible from lower down the power band. Around 1500 RPM it kicks in nicely, and that really helps you when you're off-road in a sticky situation, or even if you're cruising around the city at low speeds. Before, well, it's not going to stall like before, so that's a real good thing. Yes, even the 6-speed gearbox has been tweaked around with to better cater to your adventurous ambitions and provide slicker shifts all throughout. And we're told that the engine mapping on there has been altered as well to suit each of the first 3 gears for better low-end tractability, and it's all there to be felt. Shifts are a lot smoother and a lot less clunky. Another noticeable difference is the revised exhaust routing, which now sees a more centrally located header, while it was previously located on the side of the engine. And this has in turn resulted in a shorter piping system in the process. Now the coolant reservoir, well, that has been relocated to the rear of the bike near the rear suspension so as not to cut down on the 220 mm of ground clearance. Previously, you would find the Yezdi Adventure a bit of a handful if you were stuck in a tricky situation off-road or while you were stuck in traffic at slow speed, because the bike's clutch lever felt quite heavy and unwieldy. Now Yezdi have addressed this issue in particular by throwing in a slip and assist clutch on there, which makes frequent lever usage more manageable in these very scenarios. Once you get off-road, the sad thing about this is I find it a little too forward set for my liking, because once you actually stand up on the motorcycle, there's not a lot that you actually get to grip in terms of with your heel. So there's this small panel out here which you can see it has borne the brunt of some off-road riding, and although it's a new motorcycle, well, if this part keeps getting scratched, well, it doesn't really look all that nice, and this is just the first day of riding off-road. So this panel I would have changed, but otherwise ergonomically quite sound. Well, Yezdi also have told us that they have changed the texture of the seat, I mean the comfort level of the seat, which I'm not too sure is a good or a bad thing because I've barely had enough time. Have to get around 4 or 5 hours in the saddle to really see if this seat works. Now, the previous iteration of this motorcycle was known to be a comfortable kilometer cruncher rather than a thoroughbred off-road bike. And Yezdi have made some minor adjustments that have turned things around for the better. Now, this motorcycle is priced at around 2,10,000 rupees to 2,20,000 rupees depending on the color scheme you choose. And yes, it still lies in the same ballpark price-wise as Royal Enfield Scram 411 and the Suzuki V-Storm SX. Now, this is a more complete, I would say, off-road motorcycle. But the sad part is this motorcycle, well, it is the motorcycle that should have been launched a couple of years ago in the first place. Now, it still appears to be slightly dated, but if you're in tune with the entire dynamics and the Yezdi brand, you will fancy this one a lot better than you ever did before.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through our various social media platforms and you can write to us on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Drive and ride safe.